think what they bring to our flavor is rage bait. We need Leonardo wearing a baseball DiCaprio. We have to throw in this photo of Marco Rubio, or a Marco Rubio wax figure. I'm not sure which it is. Here is Jeff making an Amazon delivery. The taste, it's not going to taste good. Let's try to make a sort of protein drink of the aesthetics that went into 2025. The aesthetics, the vibes, the trends, the visual impressions that went into the year. Let's make a protein drink out of it. And it has to be a protein drink, I think, because everything in 2025 and in 2026 and onwards, for now anyway, everything has to have protein in it. That's become imperative to everything we consume. So I'm going to present to you my selections. We're going to make a nice, delicious, tasty blend. Let's face it, it's not going to taste good. It just wasn't that kind of year. But nevertheless, play with me. And if you're wondering why we're playing in such hushed tones, it's because you're watching Slow Night, a brand new talk show that has zero chance of surviving the 2026 media landscape. What is Slow Night? It's a show I film in the middle of the night in a New York City apartment, trying not to wake up my neighbors. You are watching the very first, and quite likely the last, episode of Slow Night. Welcome. Now let's get the blender out. Alright, so if we're going to have any chance at all of arriving at an accurate mix, I think we're going to have to throw some Bezos wedding photos in there. For taste. Jeff Bezos and Lauren Sanchez got married in Venice. Why did they get married in Venice? Because it was for rent. They rented out the whole city. Here is Lauren Sanchez, now Lauren Bezos, I guess, as proven by her case here. I assume that's a glasses case, or maybe it has some sort of lip filler in there. I don't know. Their happiness is unbothered by banners, protests, and literal fires surrounding them. We got some Jenners in the mix. I think they still have to be in the mix. They're like remnant ingredients from previous years, but they're here, they're toasting you. They go in the mix, along with any stray Kardashian we can find. Here's Leonardo DiCaprio in attendance. Leonardo wearing a baseball DiCaprio in quite a fashion moment. I think this is a look that says, I'm proud and happy to be here. Bill Gates, of course, featured in another image collection of 2025. But here he is in Venice with his friends, most of whom, it would appear, are of age. Another look at the happy couple. Here is Jeff making an Amazon delivery. I believe this was right after the reception. Always dedicated. And I think we need this last photo. This is the happy couple once again, but this time framed in and sort of hidden behind this pane of glass with some dust on it, or probably water droplets, something that is kind of obscuring their image, and yet we're able to peek in and witness their happiness from afar. This is as close as we can get. I think we're off to a good start here for our mix, but in order for the flavor to be right, we need some Trump gold in there. We need the Trump White House, golden picture frames. We need golden plaques. We need golden doodads. And I think we need the tariff chart. The tariff chart, I think, is a great visual representation of 2025. It needs to be askew. It needs to have a lot of letters and numbers on it, but those letters and numbers need to mean nothing. They need to be unordered, and they need to be scraped together on a Tuesday. And then I think we have to throw in the recent photos by Christopher Anderson for Vanity Fair of the Trump administration in the White House. And I think in particular, we simply must have this photo of Marco Rubio, or a Marco Rubio wax figure. I'm not sure which it is. I think appropriate for 2025, this is a man with no soul. This is a man who has sold out. I think imperative for that 2025 flavor is you need the notion of selling out. Just a note of selling out has to be in the taste profile. And we need soullessness. And I think we've got that here in this wax figure. And then let's round off the Trumpy part of the drink with some tech titans on parade, ready to kiss the ring. I think that's important for it to taste right. 2025, I think, had the distinct flavor of rolling over, of selling out, as I mentioned. And I think also it had the distinct whiff of the con. You need the con in the drink for it to taste right. And these people are all con men. They are all interested in one thing, precisely one thing, and that is the almighty dollar. And the funny thing is that they have it. They have all of the dollars. And yet, they need more. They need more. And we need more. We need more for our drink. So let's throw these oligarchs in there. Let's crank up the blender to 11 and make sure that it gets nice and smooth in there. It's gonna have to, it's a little bit hard to swallow some of this. So let's really blend it. Moving on. I think if we're gonna get this 2025 protein drink right, we're gonna need stickers on people's faces. Most likely, people have been putting stickers on their faces for a couple of years now. But I'm an old man, and it takes me a while to register things. But in 2025, I certainly registered that putting stickers on your face is now not only acceptable, but maybe required. If you didn't have stickers on your face in 2025, were you even alive? And I think we need a pope in here. I think we need a new casual pope. Like just a guy pope, like just a casual American pope. We need a pope in a baseball hat. And of course we need the destruction of war. We need land grabs. We need, unfortunately, Gaza and Ukraine. I don't want to be flippant about this, but we are just kind of grabbing the different vibes of the year and we're making an accurate drink. And in order for this drink to be correct, I think it needs gray smoke, and I think it needs ruins. I did want to show you this one photo that I think shows some dignity amidst all of this destruction, and I think we do need dignity in our drink. It has to be the subtlest hint of dignity, because obviously dignity was not, it's not a key flavor of 2025. But it sort of has to be in there because that's how we are going to get through all this. And this is a photo of Palestinians gathering for the first day of Ramadan, southern Gaza Strip. And hopefully by adding this picture to our 2025 protein drink, it will subtly remind us somewhere at the back of the tongue that humanity persists. But of course, we do need our drink to be cold, and for the drink to be cold, we need ice. We need ice raids. I'm sorry. We need the cruelty. You can't have 2025 without horrific, painful cruelty. Cruelty for cruelty's sake. And, sometimes a drink is defined by what it doesn't have. And I think our drink it's very short on empathy in order to capture 2025 correctly. So throw a lot of ice in there. Then we need, of course, the rise of China as an economic power and a kind of dreamland in the American left's mind. And I say that as a leftist myself. We have convinced ourselves that China is now some kind of utopian dream. And I think we need a little bit of that flavor in there. I think as a garnish, we should throw in the collapse of Taylor Swift, just as a garnish. And then we're going to need LA wildfires, which of course have been a popular ingredient in many a protein drink over the last few years. But I think it was in January, is that right? The Eaton Fire, the Pacific Palisades. This is going to probably turn our drink kind of orange, but it needs to be in there. I know it's sad, but that's what we're drinking. We are obviously going to need a lot of Labubus in this thing, so throw a few of those in there. And then I think we need Sydney Sweeney. Sydney Sweeney has great genes. Once again, trying to achieve some kind of subtlety in our mix. I think there's like a subtle white supremacy just hiding in there, hiding inside of the flavor of this presentable package that is Sydney Sweeney, whose body I feel like is on tour. It's a kind of a vessel that we are presented with. I think deliberately we know not that much about her. We just know her body. We know she talks about her genes. We know she sells her bath water. Sydney Sweeney, I think, is mostly known for having large, beautiful breasts. But an interesting thing about 2025 is that we clearly enjoyed breasts and cleavage and all that, as we so often have in the past. But 2025 was also the rise of the small implant. It's now required for all women to get implants, but they should be so small now that you can't detect them. So it's interesting that we look to people like Sydney Sweeney for the large breasts, but then everyone else has to also have implants, but they have to be small. 2025 was also the year of going braless. That's important. So take this confusing array of breast impressions and throw them into the mix. And then I think we need this AI friend graffiti campaign. Aesthetically, that was an important note of the year. It's not enough that we carry around our phone. We need some other doodad. It's unclear what this doodad is meant to do for us, but it's very clear what it's meant to do for them. It needs to gather data, and it needs to send it back to the mothership. So you need an AI friend, and why not have it be this soulless, weird necklace? And unfortunately, lots of people weren't that thrilled about it. They wrote graffiti all over the ads in the New York City subway and other places. And I think the tension in there, the sort of flavor tension between what the tech oligarchs want and what the people want, or rather what the people don't want, comes together in the imagery of the friend graffiti campaign. So I think we need that in our drink. Let's throw that in there. And maybe let's also throw in this chart. This chart was big in the discourse around AI toward the end of 2025. And I think much like the tariff chart from earlier in the year and earlier in this video, these things represent the kind of confusion of letters and numbers that define our era. If you're not familiar, this is a chart that shows kind of the circle of life of the AI companies. Basically, they're all investing money in each other in this endless circular stew that makes no kind of sense. So it's kind of this circle of life, or perhaps indeed a circle of death. So as a visual note, we've got the sort of explainer graphics that don't explain. I think that's important for our mix. But I think on top of that, as far as visual language for our mix, I think we need strikes on Venezuelan boats. I think we need target overlays on low-resolution footage. There have been artists and designers playing with this imagery, and we're seeing it in the media. For me, it sort of recalls, the Iraq War, that kind of thing. But this is back in vogue. even more senseless than ever, even less explained than ever. It's perfect for our drink, and it's getting less and less tasty, this drink, but what are you going to do? Let's throw in some No Kings protests. I think we need that in there. These were big. Some people have argued that these protests haven't really led us anywhere. I understand that perspective. On the other hand, I think it's good for the soul to see that millions of people are not happy with where things are going. Now, how is this going to affect the taste of our drink? I don't know. It's possible we have too many ingredients. A lot of the best foods has like 3 ingredients. There's a lot more ingredients, but I think we're going to, it's a complex flavor. We're making a complex drink here. This is a complex channel. I think we're going to need the Zoran logo design, and I think we need his TikTok videos. I think his videos have a hint of the influencer in them, and influencers need to be in our mix. To that point, I think we need Bill Belichick catching his mermaid, Jordan Hudson, a real influencer boss. So I think with those influencer notes in there, let's move on. By the way, if you watched my recent video about the Coca-Cola AI ad, it may surprise you to see me drinking a Coca-Cola product here. But that's very 2025 coded as well. Hypocrisy. You're welcome. And of course, not to be flippant again with very serious subject matter, but to capture the flavor of 2025, you do need Epstein pics. You need a lot of Epstein pics. You need powerful men next to black rectangles. I think we need a lot of black rectangles in here. We need a flavor of the redacted and the censored. We need sort of awkward hotel-like spaces, spa spaces. We need powerful men in blazers doing nothing in particular. We need Bill Clinton lounging about in weird places with weird people. We need odd celebrities put together in spaces we can't quite grasp, preferably on a yacht or a private jet somewhere. And we need more gold. If you look at a picture like this, you realize that Epstein and Trump are not so far apart in their tastes. Curious that. Here's 2 wily old dogs and a black rectangle. Nothing to see here. And I didn't have my blender ready for the first Wicked movie. And so I missed the infamous press tour, but the press tour sort of had a round 2 for Wicked for Good. These are movies I have not seen. I'm not particularly interested in them. But the press tour, I think, is part of the flavor of our times. So let's throw some of that in there. And I think we need Kendrick at the Super Bowl. And I think the thing about that performance is it's a great performance. Kendrick is, I think, too smart for our times, and therefore very few people understand what he's doing. I think the lack of comprehension has to go into our mix. We have to taste some of that. We have to taste our lack of media literacy. I don't know, that's a complex flavor profile. But let's make it a little bit less complex by putting Katy Perry in there. Katy Perry going to space, I think, is going to taste good. That's a fun, sugary flavor. And then maybe along those lines, put some K-pop demon hunters in there. You gotta have some K-pop demon hunters. I mean, it's 2025. And then on the topic of animation, I think weirdly, for a 2025 blend of visual impressions and aesthetics and vibes, you actually need some South Park in this thing. Weird, but South Park is alive and kicking. Those boys caught some inspiration, and I think it's going to add a bit of verve to our flavor. So let's throw that in there. And then I think we're going to need some kind of sense of plastic surgery. We spoke about breast implants earlier, but I think we need facial reconstruction. We need bleph. What is it? Upper and lower bleph. We need that stuff. We need, eyelid surgery. Obviously we need lip injections. We need fillers. And while we're on the subject of visual appearances and bodies and so on, I think a bit of Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips won't go awry. These are, I guess, OnlyFans famous women, or platforms like that anyway. These women, I think, do represent 2025 quite accurately. And I think what they bring to our flavor is rage bait and extreme measures and taking it all the way. They understand social media, they understand what sells, and they're willing to sell themselves fully. And it's working impeccably well for them. Not sure how it's working for the rest of society, but again, that tension, I think, is also an important part of any summary of 2025 and 2026, I'm sure. And along with Bonnie Blue and Lily Phillips, I think we add gooning to the mix. We need gooning. Gooning is the idea that masturbation is fun, and in order to masturbate, it can be helpful to have some adult entertainment. So if that's fun, if it's fun to watch adult entertainment, imagine how fun it would be to watch 13 screens of adult entertainment just looping and attacking you from every angle. That's very 2025 coded. It's very maximalist. We need everything at 4x speed and 10x volume. It's maximalism all the way. And then I think we maybe need the Coldplay kiss cam in here. But it's not so much that we need the Coldplay kiss cam, but I think we need the aesthetics of being caught on camera. The idea of being on camera without knowing you're on camera. I think that is increasingly an important experience of our era. Security cams, people filming you and posting you on social media without you knowing it. We're always being seen, but perhaps not in the ways we would like to be seen, or at the times we would like to be seen. And we're not always seen in the right light, the light that we prefer. And that's part of the experience of being alive in 2026. And it was part of the experience of being alive in 2025. And so let's throw that in there. And then I think it's time we put the lid on this thing and hit the blend button and make this mix. What is this going to taste like? I think it's going to be a very nondescript flavor. A confusing flavor. Maybe it's easier to describe what it's going to look like. I think the taste, it's not going to taste good, but I think it's a confusing taste. Visually, I think what it's going to look like, it's going to look like the Pantone color of the year for 2026, 11-4201 Cloud Dancer. A calm, quiet, understated white color of plausible deniability. Happy New Year.